position. And there is an amendment in 2006 to the Act which allows a forum bar so that judges can use their discretion if they don't believe that the extradition should happen, particularly if something isn't illegal in the UK, which this is not. And there was a case last year, 2010, very similar, where it was shown that it, under case that it still isn't. Is
this
illegal.
Gary McKinnon? Yeah, which is the case that the Mail's been campaigning on.
Right, exactly. What's interesting, though, is those amendments to the Extradition Act haven't actually been put into force yet, and this will lend a lot of force to what Liberty particularly are campaigning for, and I do agree with them on it, that if it's not illegal in the UK, then there should be a case put before the court, a proper case to try it before extradition is even considered. And part of the reason for that is because otherwise you're bringing into play that people will have to consider what is legal or illegal across the states, and would that be federal or would it be state by state?
And the difficulty when you apply it to the internet with copyright law, that of course that has no national barriers.
No, and it's indirect as well. The server was in Sweden. So if you have to have a look at whether there's any effect at all that's going to affect the United States, well, obviously there will be. They have a right, the lawyers for the companies involved have a right to argue jurisdictional points, but it's how we deal with it that matters. And I'm not so sure, considering that the extradition treaty between the US and the UK is so heavily weighted, that this is necessarily the right decision.
And actually, if you look at the House of Commons, the House of Commons did recently call for a review of the extradition treaty, and that was cross-party. Many politicians and many people feel deeply uncomfortable about what they perceive as the uneven relationship between the US and the UK.
Indeed. Well, let's just finish this section with a bit of an uplifting story. The Express likes to uplift us quite often on these issues, but they're talking about a tax and jobs bonanza in the North Sea. I thought that was all sort of done and dusted, all dry and barren.
I thought this was a wonderful story because actually so much of the news has been depressing, particularly on the economic front. And here we see this announcement that because of the rise in oil prices and because of technology,
it's worth exploring those further out.
And actually, the interesting thing about the extractive industries, mines, for example, that may have been closed down years ago, 20 or 30 years ago, might now be more economical because of new technology.
There are those saying that clean coal technology should make a comeback, and we've still got huge reserves of coal in Wales.
And things that wouldn't have been considered a reserve years ago are now considered a reserve, and the same thing's going for the North Sea. So I think it's a great news story.
I think it's really... Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, I think it's great timing, considering Alex Salmond and his Braveheart.
There's an interesting thing,
Where it says there are several vast untapped reserves, including in the west of Shetlands, I think it'd be interesting to see whether the Shetland Islands want to claim some independence and what would happen to the oil reserves there and the... Good point, yes.
Scottish oil, yes, not UK oil.
Shetland independence.
Independent of the Shetland Islands. We're also coming up in a moment, we'll be taking a look at some other stories for you, and we'll take a look, I think, at plastic surgery and whether it's something that we all want to maybe add or leave well alone, I think. Anyway, all that, more in the papers coming up in a moment.
On Sky 3D, Nick Baker discovers creatures...
Look at that!
...only Mother Nature could love. Brand new Nick Baker's Beautiful Freaks, in association with the Discovery Channel, tomorrow on Sky 3D.
There are times in life where being tough comes in handy. Say some geezer collapses in front of you. What do? We need a volunteer that ain't breathing. Here's one I made earlier. First off, you call 999. I know. Then, no kissing. You only kiss your missus on the lips. You push hard and fast here on the Sovereign to stay alive. Remember, call 999. Push hard and fast to staying alive. Hands only CPR. It's not as hard as it looks.
Cyprus in your heart. Being single can be amazing. So if you're going to give it up, it has to be for someone who makes being a couple the best thing in the world. At eHarmony, we really get to know you. That way we can introduce you to someone really worth getting to know.